I think the other thing that's interesting, when we think about zero trust, is the fact that, now data is being spread across not just the endpoint, not just the service, but a whole variety of cloud platforms. I mean, you might have Dropbox installed, or OneDrive, or Office 365, and so there's you've got a much broader range of risk of types of places where your sensitive data could be. So you've got to make sure that when you're thinking about that you understand and you're validating that employee or that user is who it says it is, and that they are acting responsibly, that they're doing the right things with your most sensitive data. Unless you're going to do that, there's even greater risk from all there's opportunity in the cloud, obviously, but there's a huge amount of risk there as well.
Yeah, and it also plays in, now with everything in privacy too. And so, you go down to the data and the sensitive data, it's now getting spread out wider and wider. And with GDPR, CCPA, and things now coming into the States too,
right? Yeah.
There's a lot more opportunities for non-compliance, and so you have to make sure you can grab that and know where that is, keep it secure, and then being able to pull that down for whether it's data subject requests or whatever it might be. But from a privacy standpoint, that's just going to continue to pick up steam over the next couple of years.
You raised a really interesting point there. You talked about the California Privacy Act, like. When you read it, you think that everybody would be going out and wanting to really get deep into understanding where their data is, understanding who's got access to it, understanding what. But I think a lot of organizations are still proving compliance via a spreadsheet. They are ticking a box, and they're finding ways of ticking the box. And I don't really understand that. To a certain extent, we found that there was a massive wave of activity just generally around GDPR, but has it really fundamentally made a difference to data protection? Has it fundamentally made a difference to data security that it should have done? I'm not sure it has.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, Aiden, too, because I think you're right. I think it's I think they probably feel that they're securing their data enough. And if they have the checkbox around the privacy, so when you think about the privacy implications, as long as they feel like they have a checkbox that they will be compliant or they can answer those, maybe there's not the motivation to go further as long as they feel like they're secure. But I think one plays into the other, and they can play into the other because one can make the other easier. Like GDPR, I think some of it's going to take more fines, more enforcement, those types of things for people to actually wonder, and wake up and say, "Oh, geez, I better start doing more than this."
And again, I feel it comes back to that point we were talking about earlier, in that we've got to find ways of connecting compliance, governance, and security teams more effectively, because quite often the dynamics between those teams it's just dysfunctional. It just doesn't work. I mean, it's that not I'm not being fair. In some organizations, I've seen it really work really effectively, but in a lot of organizations, it's not functional. It's almost you guys again. What do you want? You want another report for the X, Y, Z, and it's like, no. Actually, look, this could really help your organization, but it isn't viewed like that. And I think that we've got to find ways of sort of somehow bringing those things together, because the intentions of compliance are virtuous. It makes a huge amount of sense to work towards a set of rules that actually can provide some level of assurance that actually we understand what's happening to protecting our data. That makes a huge amount of sense, but still don't think that we've quite got the right culture as yet that's making that successful.
I think some of that, Aiden, might be just different goals too, right? So you think about IT, they're trying to secure everything or just make sure everything's up and running, right? And there's always fires going on, things happening here. Yeah. And then you have security, who's making sure that things are safe. And then you have the records and governance, who's making sure that you only retain, what we want to retain. So while you look on a high level strategic standpoint, they should intermesh. When you go down a level, they're all on their individual goals of what they want to do. And so IT is like, well, I just want to make sure my network's up and running and everything's okay. And then you have the governance guys over here saying, well, I want to see what data's in there. So, can you help me with that? Can you help me with that? Then you got the security guys saying, well, that's great that everything's up and running, but let me just make sure my environment's secure too. So now they got three different things. Although if you look at the top of the pyramid, they all should mesh together. And absolutely. So you're right. I think it's if they can come together more and bring those goals together and work together more, I think it would help and move things forward a lot quicker too. And that's the other thing about nowadays too, is there's so many other stakeholders, right? So before, at least what we found years ago, is you would have IT kind of leading the rest of this, although there was influence from risk, legal, compliance, other departments, but they were I'll say the pinnacle of this, right? They were the ones going forward, but now it's gotten spread out because you have to, right? With all these security things, security teams have grown, governance teams have grown. So there's all these competing interests. I don't want to say competing, but complementary, but competing within the same organization. So they have to come together and start working together more to move it forward quicker.